Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee with SamPaul, and I am joined today by the lovely Nichole. We're at Sia Cafe in Gawler, and how are you going?
Really good, really excited to have this, chat.
Yeah, no,
and this coffee.
Me too. Now, what are you drinking? I always like to try to ask guests what.
Oat milk latte.
Oh, oat milk latte, almost the same as me.
I know, almost.
I've got oat milk mocha. Most people the few people that do watch the show regularly would know that I always have oat milk mocha because it's like my go-to coffee. I've even started making them at home now, so yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so, Nichole, tell me a little bit about what it is you do, and I guess how you came to do it. We're talking off camera about working with, counselling type life kind of. You can probably explain it better than me.
Yeah. So I've branded myself the Kidz Coach, and that's come to fruition after about 14 years of personal development.
That's the word I was looking for, personal
development. That's the one. And personal development really covers, for me, all the holistic modalities in regard to like breath work, hypnotherapy, meditation, ice baths, community, connection, spirituality, energies, all of that. And the reason that I actually got into it was the fact that I was a drug addict 15 years ago, and the medical system and the psychologists and everywhere that I turned didn't actually help me. So when I got introduced into hypnotherapy and the energetic world, it helped get me sober. So it sped me on this life track of learning. I haven't stopped learning. I've worked in multiple places, but because of what I've learned, and I'm a mama bear too, I've got 3 kids, and one is on the spectrum, autistic. I realized how important personal development is for kids, and it's a nuanced area. Nobody's really doing it.
Wow, that's crazy.
So bringing that emotional regulation, that game-based play, talking to them about emotions, vulnerability, connections is where it's really at. Because if I could help younger me, which I have done in many healings, but if I could help younger me, then that's what I'm meant to do. And if I could be there for that 7-year-old or that 5-year-old or that 15-year-old now, then that's really lights me up. It's my purpose.
100%. And you know what? One of the things I really like that you kind of made me think of as you were speaking about, doing it for kids, like a nuanced area that not many people are doing, is that for me, it's all about early intervention. Like if you help someone when they're younger, they've got more chance that they're not going to become, for all intents and purposes, a bigger problem in their life when they're older.
Correct.
And we're always talking about, we've got too many people in jails, we've got too many people here, and it's like, well, maybe if you dealt with it when they were kids, they wouldn't have got to the point where they acted out to the point where they needed to go into that system, And so it's so good to see what you're doing.
Thank you. I see that a lot. I've worked in education, I've worked in the schools, I've worked in disability, and they're looking at addressing the issue at the time, and I don't like to call them problems, or the challenges at the time. And so if there's a big behaviour, they're not looking at, well, where did it stem from, like 6 steps before? Maybe that child does have trauma, maybe that child is upset, and unpacking it instead of just labelling it or dealing with the issue there and making them feel naughty or wrong. It's like, well, actually, no, it's okay to have emotions, it's okay to express it, but let's do it in a safe way. Let's work through that, and let's see what tools you need to be able to work through it. A lot of the stuff I'm teaching is just communication and integration into the body. Express yourself. It's beautiful too. You're allowed to cry, you're allowed to be angry. And this is stuff that, I guess, not only am I teaching the children, but some parents too, because I didn't know this stuff when I was first parenting my oldest to 17.
Oh, look, we all go into parenting flying blind. And just speaking of that, I just want to address the fact that I sometimes might be making funny faces or smiling on camera. It's certainly not about the serious nature of what we're talking. But there's a young lady just sitting at the table, currently licking her hand, and she's drinking a little baby chino, and she's absolutely adorable. And she's making little faces at me. So I don't want to downplay how serious and important what you're talking about is, but that's what
we can't help it. Kids are life. I love it, and they definitely feel it, and that's a really good point. Like they energetically feel people that are safe.
They do.
And so working with kids, I never work with a kid unless they pick me. And I let them interview me when they're at an age to communicate that. And if they're at a younger age, I literally get on the floor until they're ready to come and work with my energy. And if ever a child says no, which has only ever happened to me once in 9 years, but ever a child says no, I find them someone better, because that connection, that rapport is so important, and they don't have that empowerment. They don't have that choice at school. 100%. They don't have that choice with the doctors. So that's a part of my program and philosophy as well.
I love the fact that you let them interview you. That's really cool. And you know, you kind of like seem a little hesitant to mention that it's happened once before they didn't choose you. But you know, at the end of the day, as I say to my son all the time, you know, like, you can't like everybody, you know, and that's not a reflection on the other person in any way necessarily. It just means that, you know, you don't feel that that's the right person for you to work with.
And I was actually happy though, like, you know, I'd rather that person have a voice and say, actually I'd like someone else, and this boy wanted a male role model to take him to the gym. I need more male role models, by the way, so if there's anybody that wants to work with kids and you are a male, let me know, because it's a big industry. I've got, you know, it's flooded with women, and women are amazing, but there's so many single parents, single mothers that really need safe, beautiful, integrated men to come in and work with these kids as well, so they have that safe masculine. And yeah, that's what that one particular boy wanted. So, but yeah, I'm all about sharing the message. We need more Kidz coaches. We need more people that genuinely want to interact. She's making a good mess.
She's just upturned her little baby chin all over the table now. You can't get angry though. It's so cute, like so adorable, like seeing kids just playing and having fun, and I'm guessing that kind of forms a part of what you do. Like, you kind of have a bit of fun and play.
Love it. Always about playing. Kids learn the best when they're having fun.
Yeah.
And even like up to, when I say kids, I mean up to 18. Like, we're all kids at heart, right? I'd rather run around and climb the jungle gym and do primal screams or dance parties or whatever it is, or arts and crafts, because I'm having fun too.
Yeah.
And in those interactions, we can have really beautiful, deep conversations about emotions or vulnerability or whatever that's coming up, or the challenges. And yeah, it's always got to be that cool interaction. And I never have a game plan, which is great, because I just let them bring it to me.
Sounds like my show.
Yeah, never have a game plan. Excellent, love it. We'll see where it goes.
I love just the free flowing kind of, you know, authentic kind of nature of the way that some people work, like yourself. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think for me, and this is not a criticism at schools in general, but I feel like one of the downfalls to a lot of schools is there's a very kind of one-size-fits-all kind of mentality of the way that they teach and the way they run curriculum. It is changing, and that's a good thing, but I think if you go into a situation with your tools, but you don't necessarily have a planned out that this is how I will do it, you're going to get better results, because you can kind of adapt and maneuver and be dynamic in the way you approach the situation, because all kids are different.
Correct.
The way that they learn is going to all be different. Sure, there's going to be commonalities, and a lot of kids will be very similar in some ways, but they're all different. They're all individual.
It is a big issue, the education system at the moment. I've had some beautiful conversations with people like right across Australia, but it is a very rigid system, and it hasn't changed a lot in the last 50, 60 years. And a lot of kids don't want to go. Like, they're so overwhelmed because of technology and not feeling safe and the interactions with kids that they don't actually want to go. And so it is a big issue, and there are some amazing teachers out there, don't get me wrong, I've met them and I know them, but there's also some not so good ones, and that's in any profession. But the best ones that I've met are like, have that growth mindset, like, let's have adaptability, let's make it fun, let's change it around. You know, there's so many ways that you can learn. It doesn't have to be sit down and let's do algebra, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I find the best kind of people in any field, whether it's a teacher or, you know, a mechanic or whatever it is, you know, like I work in a fruit shop and as my day job, and even in that kind of environment, is the ones that go in there not thinking I know everything, that I can learn, that, you know, that I you know, there's always going to be lessons. I'm always able to improve, grow, because as soon as you start to close your mind off to growth and learning, you kind of like, you know, like, it's, for me, that would be game over. Like, I think I'm going to stop learning the day that I die.
I was reading some quotes to a kid last night about what is it? The day I stop making mistakes is the day I stop learning.
Yeah.
And it's like all talking about, because there is no bad mistakes. It's all about that, and it's exactly that. Like, I always want to try new things. I'm so open to that. I love learning, and I love putting myself out there. Whereas some people are so maybe shy for that, but not me. I love it, and I encourage the kids to do that. Like, there is no right or wrong. There is no mistake. Like, you just have to keep trying and finding what you're good at and what you're interested in. And
100%. You know, it's interesting what you said about, like, some people are shy at that, because growing up, I was always a really shy kid. But at the same time, like, I wasn't the kind of kid that, like, some of my mates would be like, they'd go and do a big jump because they were like you know, wanted to be crazy and silly and whatever. I was always too shy for that. But when it came to like making my music or doing this show, I just stepped right out of my comfort zone, and I still kind of, I guess, it may not seem it, but I get quite shy and reserved about doing things like this where I know a lot of people are going to see, but I do it anyway because I know that, yes, it may not always come off 100% right, you know, but it, like you said before, if you stop making mistakes, you stop learning, you stop growing. And I think, and there's a really good quote I keep seeing around Facebook and social media, something along the lines of like, the only thing standing between you and your goals and your dreams is fear.
Correct.
And I guess that, you know, I always put my fear in the back seat, strap it in and say, we're going, I don't care what you say, and just dive in.
100%. It is. It's coming from courage. That's the only difference between the successful people out there and the not, is the ones that step into their courage, that step into their heart's fulfillment, what they want, their desires, and finding that. And every single person has it, and I love tapping into that, whether it's with my adults that I teach or my kids, but helping them really tap into their courage, into their heart space to find their authentic self, how they want to be in the world, is definitely so important. And you just made me remember a quote that I love. Someone told me about it as well. It's like, every child is an artist until they're told they're not. And I was like, oh my God. And it's John Lennon. John Lennon wrote that quote. And I was just like, wow, like, it's so true. Like, we are all so capable of so many things, yet either somewhere along our childhood, either a teacher or a parent or a carer or another kid has told us we're not good at that, and so then we shy away from it. But yeah, we all have so much untapped potential. And that's what I love playing in that realm. Like, let's be creative. Let's be crazy. Let's be silly.
You know, one of the biggest, I guess you could say, penny drop moments for me was looking. You know, like how you were saying, how we came from a different era when we grew up. And one of the things that I always look back and think, wow, that's really bad, is that whole attitude that, oh, he's being mean to you because he likes you. Like, I know it seemed harmless at the time, but with the knowledge and experience we have these days, it's such a bad, like a bad attitude to have, that, oh, he's just being mean because he likes you. Because, like, we should be teaching our boys that if you like someone, you treat them well. Because I think that, you know, like, you know, DV and things like that have become such a big thing. And while they do quite often can be instigated on both sides of the relationship, you know, the male or the female, obviously it's much more prevalent for men to do that. And I really do believe it comes from that attitude that we teach our kids, you know. So many
old school parenting beliefs and styles have changed, which I'm so super grateful for the conscious parenting world, that in particular. But the other one is, like, kids are meant to be, you know, seen and not heard. No, they actually need to talk about it, because that's when, if you shut down a child, like, off you go, you'll be right, cry in your bedroom, I've had enough of you, all that stuff. And look, I've been guilty of many times of not being the best parent. We all have. But that teaches them shame and guilt and to shut down. And then later on in life, they develop strategies that are not helpful in regard to people pleasing, addiction, shutting down, numbing out, depression. And so really having these deep, vulnerable conversations is so important. I always unpack with my kids if I've had a bad day or they've had a bad day. Owning up, apologizing if we've not shown up as our best selves. That's the biggest thing that I find that parents are unaware of. Like, we're human. How do we role model? We've got to set that example and apologize and unpack and show up better, and then ask for help. You know, we don't have all the answers, so it's great to have, you know, coffees and conversations and get out there and, you know, look on YouTube to get the answers. You know, and so if we do all of that, then we're setting our kids up for success. You know, deep vulnerability, asking for help, and then the one we were talking about before, boundaries and consent. Like, that stuff wasn't even talked about.
Exactly. Like, it was like, no, that's Uncle Jim or, you know, Auntie Simone. Like, you will give them a hug.
Correct.
You know? And it's like,
but it's even to the point of, like, one of my best friends taught me that we should never just assume someone's got time for you. So when you pick up the phone, it's like, hey, do you have 5 minutes for me to download? Whereas you've got that friend that you answer and you're like, oh my God, they're going to be on the phone for an hour and I've got to listen to all their stuff. And so it's all about, like, really making time that you've got energy and space, and a no to somebody else is a beautiful way of setting a boundary, because it's a yes to you. And if that person takes offense to that, then that's on them. But it's also really accepting that there's so many places and spaces that us as adults and kids don't know, you know, consent and boundaries and speaking their truth.
100%. You know, it's funny because I often get I often get questioned by people, like, why don't you like to talk on the phone? Because I'm not a big phone talker. I prefer text. Now, I know that text is inherently bad in the sense of like miscommunicating, but I think what they don't realise is that coming back to consent and boundaries and that, is that when I grew up, if someone called me, it was on the home phone because we didn't have mobile phones. If I wasn't home, they either rung back another time or they left an answer machine message if you had an answer machine, you know. And so I could then choose when I got back to them, and I wasn't feeling compelled that I must answer because my phone's in my pocket and they're ringing me now, you know. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that, you know, like just because they have a phone on them all the time, like you said, they're not always available. Correct. They're not always in the right, you know, space
to take on, yeah.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of good about the technology we have these days. I mean, hell, back when we were kids, I could never have done this show like this. You know, I've got this portable setup that's like amazing quality, and I can take it wherever I want. So there's good things about it, but there's also a lot of negative things. And I think, you know, coming back to what you said before about conversation, I think that we need to converse about that and share these things so we become more aware.
Correct.
That,
and it's so important because of technology, like you're saying, because everybody is running at a higher stress level now. They are so overwhelmed, and the kids are showing that in their stresses, in their nervous system, in their behaviours.
Yeah.
And so any way that we can teach them to regulate, and whether that's through their voice or whether it's through other ways, but yeah, those boundaries and consents make such a big deal. And having like ideas like, okay, well it's family time now, or it is no mobile time, or you know, I don't have to respond to that Snapchat or that message straight away. You know, it really is all about that. Whereas they're running on that frequency of go, 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 because it's everywhere.
Do you want to hear something really funny just on that kind of note? I remember coming up through. Oh, sorry, did you want to hear it?
Yes, I do.
I didn't actually wait for an answer. I started telling you.
No consent. No consent.
Yeah. You heard it though. She did say yes. So back in around, I reckon year 10, I reckon we started getting the internet at school. It was like this one room. It was a dial-up modem through one computer. Then the rest were networked and got access that way. So it's really.
I remember I'm about that age too.
Yeah, really archaic. But what I found really interesting is that the teacher was like, oh, you know, once this becomes a thing, you won't have to work as hard at your job and stuff because everything will be automated through a computer. But in reality, what actually happened is the bosses started expecting more, and that's why we're running higher stress level, because we're now expected to do, say, 50 hours in a 38-hour working week because we've got this automated computer systems and this and that make things quicker and easier, but the expectation has gone up as well.
Correct.
You know, so thank you so much, Nichole, for talking to me today about the Kidz Coach, which is the name of your business, yeah?
Correct.
Yeah, cool. I just thought I'd better check if it's written all over your jumper. Love that, by the way. It's great. Thank you to Cafe Sia for letting us do this. Not that we asked permission. As I always say as a joke, I never ask permission. I just come in and do it, and no one seems to mind. But no, thank you so much for sharing what you do and you know, getting a conversation going about some really important stuff. You know, I mean, it all starts with our kids.
Correct.
You know, if we get that right, then they become well-adjusted. You know, adults as they grow up and doing their best and living their best, and I think that's really important. So,
and I'd love to, obviously, I'm sure you put all my socials on there, but I have a free program as well, so I'd love to give the link to your listeners and watchers.
Sure, feel free to give us a plug.
Program. So I'll be sharing this as soon as I get it live.
I don't know. I was going to say, give us a plug of the. Do you have a link you can tell us now? Or?
Yeah. So it's the kidzcoach.com.au, and kids is with a Z, so the kidzcoach.com.au. But there's a free program in there that's 5 days of little videos that you can do emotional regulation with your kids.
But you're 100% right. We'll put a link in the description, and also when I post up, when it goes live, I'll post a link in that as well. Perfect. And I'll tag you as well, because you know that's what I do. And yeah, no worries. All right. Well, thank you so much, and all the best with what you're doing. It's some great work you're doing, and definitely needed in the world these days. And wish you all the best. And yeah, we'll definitely get you back on, and we'll have another chat, and we can sort of maybe follow up on some of the topics we've talked about today.
Love it.
Cool.
Love it.
Thank you so much, Nichole, for telling. Start again.